Hi, everybody. This is Jose Palomino, founder of Value Prop, and your host today on Business Growth on Purpose. And at Value Prop, what we help owners do, especially owners of B2B businesses, is to really chart out their best strategy, the most impactful marketing plans, and a sales process that can really turn on growth on purpose. And today's guest is Tim Hughes, who helps organizations of all sizes, but especially in the B2B space, really figure out ways to create relationships, to create conversations that lead to sales. So listen closely as Tim joins us right now on Business Growth on Purpose. Welcome, Tim, to Business Growth on Purpose.
Hi, Jose. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to meet you and talk to you and discuss things. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for our audience, to give them a little bit of clarity, what do you do and who do you do it for mostly? I realize that could be an expansive answer, but just your primary focus.
We're mainly focused on business-to-business organizations, from the smallest startups right up to the top. And what we do is that we transform the sales teams and the marketing teams to use digital and social for them to get pipeline and revenue.
Okay, so social is a big thing. Obviously, it's changed the world of everything in the last 10 years, right? But one thing that I have found still consistently is that in the small to mid market, companies that don't have entire departments and so on, the idea of social selling is something they might read about in Inc. magazine. They go, yeah, we should do something there. Or we have a Facebook page, we have a LinkedIn page. We don't use it, we don't do anything with it, but we have it. It feels a little like far off to get a handle on how to leverage it.
Yep.
So would you be kind enough, Tim, to just maybe shed a little light on why social selling might be relevant to somebody who's not $1 billion corporation?
Yeah, we actually we come up with a definition, which is, I'm going to read it off the wall. So
yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's using your presence and behavior on social media to build influence, make connections, grow relationships and trust, which lead to conversations and commercial interaction. And we see that as something that everybody can do, whether you're a small business like I am. Mm-hmm. So I'm a small business. We've got 15 people. We've never made a cold call. We've never placed an ad. We've never we don't have email lists, and so that we've never done any of that, because what we do is that we use social to sell, and we always have done in the 6 years that we've been running the business. So whether you're a small company or a big company, it's applicable. It's all about using your social presence to form relationships and trust, which create conversations and then ultimately lead to commercial interaction, so sales.
Right. So it really is a platform to build relationships, maybe with people you don't presently have a relationship with.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that people quite often think is that social selling, so the two mistakes that people make is that one is they think that social selling is like we've always sold in the past. So we've always sold in the past by basically interrupting people. So interruption marketing is I interrupt you with a cold call, I make a pitch. Email marketing is I interrupt you and I make a pitch. Advertising, I interrupt you and I make a pitch. And the mistake that people think is, oh, well, it's social, so I'm going to interrupt you and make a pitch. Unfortunately, that's spam. And what happens is that you can do that, but what will happen is that you will get blocked very, very, very quickly and probably get removed from the platform by LinkedIn. So what people don't realize is that social media is media where you're social. So the other mistake that people make is I can't do I can't sell what I sell over social media. No, we're not expecting you to. What I sell and what you sell and what everybody sells in B2B requires you to have a conversation. What social media now enables you to do is have conversations at scale, where you're talking to people just as you would do at a networking event. You're connecting to people, you're talking to people, having conversations, and then that may lead to something. If I meet you at a networking event, I don't go, hey, Jose, I sell this. I go, we had a conversation before we went online about the fact that you live in Philadelphia, and I went there and I really enjoyed it and stuff like that. And everybody does that because that starts the process of going through the process of saying, I like Tim, or I don't like Tim, or and I trust him, or I don't trust him. And we do that, and it's a natural social thing that we do as humans.
Well, so it's interesting. That level of connection though. So for example, let's take the what you mentioned, a trade show or the industry event where I'm going to go, going to bring some business cards. I hope to meet some people. I hope opportunities knocking at this show, right? So I show up, and the reality is in small to mid market, they may have very limited sales bandwidth. It may be the owner selling who's also running the business, right? And there isn't really a dedicated
just like
salesperson.
me.
What was that?
Just like me.
Just like you. And so now you have to show up at these things, and it's always been hard. I mean, that example you gave is hard for a lot of people to think about in the real world.
Well, it is, and the thing is that what social does is that, you know, I'm able to connect with people and have conversations without leaving my seat. I don't have to go out into. People may recognise that I have a different accent, so I live in London, and you know, it takes me 30 minutes to get in London, but I can sit here and do that. And what social media allows you to do is to do it at scale. You can make. LinkedIn allows you to do 200 connections a week. So that's 200 conversations that you could be having as a business every week. Multiply that out across your company. That's an awful lot of conversations that you can have at scale.
But don't I need, I don't know if it's a technology, or do I need to add staff to help manage that? That's a lot. I mean, yes, it's a lot of opportunity, but it also can sound to somebody who's already like up to here with everything else they're doing, saying, boy, 200 conversations a week.
Well,
I'm lucky enough to talk to the people in my office.
You need to make a decision, don't you? If what you're doing, if the cold calling and email marketing that you're doing at the moment is working, then you don't need to listen to me on this podcast.
Right.
I mean, the point that people, the reason why people are listening to me is we know it doesn't work. You know, HubSpot, Salesforce, HighSpot, Gartner all say that the modern buyer has moved on to digital. And so we have this real problem out there at the moment that we have lots of companies with no pipeline because they're selling in the analog world, and the buyer has moved to digital. You know, the 60% of the world's population are active on social media. When I mean active, the figures came out yesterday. That's the average person spends 2 hours, 30 minutes a day on social media.
So
and wow. You're probably and the people
that's what they're doing right now while I thought.
Well, yeah, and the people that are watching this will have found this on social media. You know, social media has changed the world.
Right.
It's changed society, and it's changed the way that we do business. And one of the things that we find is that the modern buyer is active. They're searching on social media. One of the classic things that people think about. So two things in sale. One is about going out and finding people. The other is people finding you. So yesterday, I was at a conference. I spoke at Hewlett Packard, a big company. They found me. They approached me, and they said, "Would you come and speak?" And I get paid for that. And the thing is if you're not active on social media, you're invisible. So I know that people, when you say, "Oh, people have a Facebook page and people have yeah, but they're still invisible." So one of the things that people have to do is understand that the modern buyer has moved to digital, and we have to be there if we're going to find them. But so that's people coming to you, but also if you're going to them, you can actually build when we talk about relationships in the past, back in 2015, people would say relationships take a long time.
Long time ago, 2015,
a
lifetime ago, right?
Yeah. And it was before COVID, it was the 2020, we go back in time, you say relationships take a long time. Relationships don't take a long time. Not anymore. People expect to, if you connect with someone and someone looks good, I'll take you through in a moment 3 things that you need to do to be successful online. And if you connect to someone and they look interesting, you will spark up a conversation instantly and have a conversation which could or may not lead to a sale. So the thing is that you're able to move very, very quickly and scale up very, very fast. And right now it's the only game in town.
Well, a quick question to that, Tim, and I love the fact that you're in the UK for this reason, for this question. What you've described for a long time now, maybe even before 2015, in American sales culture, people got to it right away. You might have a first lunch and you're talking business. By the end of the day, by the end of the lunch, you're ordering the check and you're also agreeing to the PO. But as you go out internationally, in some cultures, that, like I'm thinking, I've done some business in Latin America where it's like the fifth lunch before you can even bring up that you're going to do business together. The phenomenon you described, is that a truly global phenomenon, or are there certain environments or certain countries or business cultures where that's more so than, Silicon Valley, that's the way it is?
I think there's a recognition that when you go onto a equivalent of in effect an American site, so LinkedIn is an American site, you're playing to American rules. So, if you take Japan, for example, Japan is a society where a lot of it's based on relationships, and those relationships can take a long time. The expectation, certainly in Europe and in the UK and certainly in North America, is that a business can be done very, very quickly. And there's an expectation that you would build those relationships. I've done and talked to people in South America, and again, there's that expectation that they're on an American platform, therefore it's Anglo-Saxon rules.
Okay, well, that's interesting, right? Because that's something that truly is changing the world. So you mentioned three things, like that are like keys to success at attacking this, right? So,
let me take you through those three things. So the first thing is about having a buyer-centric profile. So most profiles at the moment online are, it's a CV. I tried to use it to get a job because LinkedIn used to be a jobs board. Or I've written something about my company or my product. The thing is that no one's interested in your company or your product. You are, because you're really excited because it pays your mortgage. But the thing is that the buyer isn't until they've actually engaged with you. So what you need to do is you need to set yourself as what we call buyer-centric. So it's about what is it that you can do and say that's going to make a buyer say, do you know, that looks really, really interesting. I wonder if they can actually help with my problem. So report came out yesterday that shows that now that most people up to the age of 30 used social for search more than they do Google. So we know that if an organization is using people under 30 to do the search, they'll start on social, and people search on social differently. Don't have time to go into the difference between the two, but it is different. So we have one of our clients is Namos. They're an Oracle consultancy. They're 100 people, and the CEO was telling me about how we train them. Their salespeople were positioned on social, showing people how they were experts and how they could sort the problems of their clients. Client basically finds them and says, "You look interesting." Walks towards them, which is completely different to what happens in sales, because normally when we look on people's profiles on LinkedIn, I go, don't like you, I'm not interested in you, I don't believe a word you say, and you're just going to try and sell me something I don't want. So this client walked towards the salesperson at Namos. There was then a discussion that took place, just as it would do on between a salesperson and a buyer. And that turned into a $2.6 million deal. They've subsequently taken another $500,000 out of that company. Now, there are organizations that are doing deals on there because they know that they need to be on social. They know that the buyers are on social, and they need to look. It's not about me and what I think about, it's what the buyer thinks. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is to be in that game. We need to be connected to the people that we need to influence. So, for example, most people on LinkedIn are connected to my colleagues now, my ex-colleagues and recruitment consultants. None of those are the people that we're trying to influence. The people that we're trying to influence are the people that we're trying to sell to it. So it may be the organizations, there may be people that are influencing those organizations. We need to be connected to them and in those networks. And what we do is that we help people connect, not in a spammy way that says, hey, I'm your local salesperson, because people will just ignore you. Because nobody wants to be connected to salespeople that are going to sell you stuff. You need to have a wide and as varied network as you can, and that helps. That helped the Namos salesperson being found in the first place. And the third thing that you need is content. And the reason why we need content is that the buyers, all of the research says this, from Gartner to Salesforce to HubSpot, we're all, when we buy stuff now, we go online and we do research. So my partner has a significant birthday this year. We're going to go on holiday. So what do? First thing we do is we pick up our mobile phones and we start searching. I'm looking at the Airbnbs, she's looking at the flights, we're looking at the particular place that we want to go to. It's only when we get all the way down to the point where we think we're ready to make a decision that we actually contact the salesperson. What we've done is that we've consumed content. I want to know about the area. There's a particular area that has a that I've read is really difficult to get into. So how do we get into it? Do we need an RV? Do we need a 4x4? I don't know. So we do all of that research, and people will be doing that research, and we do it by consuming content. So the way that you can look like an expert is by showing insight and by showing authentic content. So not brochures, because we can go to your website for brochures. We don't need any more brochures. And in fact, research shows that nobody comes to social media to read brochures. What we need is authentic content, just like what you're creating here, Jose. Something that's insightful, where you're educating people, you're sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your wisdom. And what will happen is that as you do that, people go, that person looks interesting and they can really help me. So those are the three things that you need. Now, as an organization, what you need to do is you need to understand that today is prospecting. So while people may say, I don't want to do that, seems like an additional thing today, that is prospecting. And that's how we as a business, we prospect.
Well, and one thing, Tim, because you alluded to it earlier in your first set of comments, people are already doing prospecting. They're investing it in some way, right? Whether it's cold calling, they've hired a quote unquote lead generation firm to send a bunch of emails for them. They're sending letters, postcards, whatever they're doing. And yet, this is really just the new way of prospecting. So it might not be that it's an additional, a net additional piece of work. It might be in lieu of doing those other activities, do this instead.
Yeah, so we don't cold call or send email because we don't believe it works. What we do is, this is how I prospect. And when you set up your profile, it's a one-off investment in time. After that, what you're doing is that when you're basically connecting, and not connecting by sending out spammy messages, it's about understanding that it's about the other person. The other person is the person that you're interested in. You're interested in what they have to say.
Wow. So that, just for the owner listening who's thinking, gee, I don't have like a social media staff or whatever, I'm saying, okay, well, you're committing some resources to trying to do this sales thing, to try to get leads and so on. So maybe this is a smarter way of approaching that. And to that end, Tim, I know you also have a new book out that covers a lot of this stuff. What can you tell us a little bit about that?
I've forgotten all about that, Jose. So my new book is out. So the original was book about social selling I wrote back in came out in 2016. It was the first book ever on social selling, and it still started selling during COVID. And my publisher said we need to update it. So this has just come out in November 2022. It's the second edition. It's the one with the yellow cover. It's got 306 pages. And what I've done is I've packed it with methods that people can use. And this isn't just about looking good on LinkedIn and putting flowers on your profile. I talk about how you can generate revenue from using social. And that's the whole point of the book.
Yeah, and I love that it's very direct to that point. This is because all too often what I've found with a lot of social media experts I've known and talked to over the years is they talk about social as if it's an end in itself. So they are really, and there's some benefits to that, but it's like people who used to do the early days of the web. It was just, you just got to be there.
Yeah. This isn't, there's a lot of people that say you have to be on social media. I'm not saying that. You have to be on social media because that's where the buyers are. But the most important thing to understand, and I'm going back to the beginning, and thank you, Jose, for pointing this out, this is about conversations. Conversations drive sales. So the reason why I'm on social media, the reason why I post so what I see so many people wasting their time posting brochures, because what they're told is you've got to go to social media and post content. It's rubbish. You go to social media to post content to create conversations, because conversations create sales. So if people are basically posting content just because that's not the output. The output is the conversation. So we do a presentation to people, which is an introduction to social media, where we show them the data and some of our customers and case studies and stuff like that. And one of the things that we show is one of my team who put out a post. The post is him at the seaside with his son, and it was his son's 16th birthday. It was during COVID. And you'll say, yeah, I've seen loads of stuff like that. So what, Tim? And it's like, yeah, but off the back of that post, he got 6 C-level meetings, 2 proposals, and 1 purchase order.
Wow!
And it only took him 10 minutes to do. This is the difference. Are you saying that you don't have 10 minutes to get 6 C-level meetings? I mean, this is modern prospecting. We've got a client that's got 10,001 ROI. They're a $400 million turnover organization, and they've got an opportunity which is $500 million. And the reason for that is that there's very few people on social that are doing this right. So you've got an opportunity to basically go and grab the market. One of our clients, Cyberhawk, with their drones company, we talked to them about digital dominance. What they've done is that, so Chris Fleming, the CEO, has written a couple of pages in our book, where he talks about the fact that he decided to be a digital organization and actually take this on and actually use it as a strategy within his business. So the whole of the C-suite are online, even the CFO and the CIO.
And by the way, that's a really powerful distinction, because I think a lot of times people can think, well, this is something I got to get my salespeople to do.
Yeah.
And you look at it very much more holistically.
It's absolutely. It's so the CIO is having conversations with CIOs, and the CFO is sorting out funding and stuff. And so what happens is that the way that we describe it is, think about in the old days where we went to a conference and we might go up to a stand and you say, I'm thinking I need some drones, and someone will say, yeah, come on the stand, let's have a chat. And you feel welcomed, and so that's what they're doing on digital. Whereas what happens at the moment is most salespeople are basically walking up to you and slapping you with a brochure, which you don't want,
grabbing you by the lapels and saying,
just go away. Whereas, so what you're doing is that you're setting your stall out on digital. And what you're doing is that you're presenting the senior people, and then what the salespeople are doing are actually going out and having conversations. Now, once you start setting yourself out broadly from the C-suite, what you'll find, you'll get other benefits. So we have a client in Cambridge in the UK, which no longer pays for recruitment consultants or job ads. And the reason for that is that they're setting out their store on social, and people go, do you know, that's the company I want to work for? Wow. And people have people walking towards them. So they've become the employer of choice by being on social, and stripped out cost at the same time. So this is a way of, by empowering your people with digital, what you're doing is that you're making your organization more efficient and stripping out costs at the same time, which is what all small businesses need to do and want to do.
Absolutely. Well, Tim Hughes, this is a topic we can keep plumbing the depths of, but here we are. And I really want to make sure that people who are listening to this, who want to know more about you, your work, and how you work, where should they go on the web to find out more about you?
The best place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm Tim Hughes on LinkedIn. We do have a website, which is DLAignite.com, but the best place to get me is on LinkedIn. And the book is available and the book's available on Amazon worldwide.
Okay, fantastic. Tim Hughes, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much.
Growth on Purpose. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Business Growth on Purpose. If you like the show, hit subscribe and leave us a review to help other people find the podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in driving intentional growth for your business, come check out what we're doing at valueprop.com. We've developed industry-leading programs and systems to help B2B owners take control of their growth. Until then, thanks for listening to another episode of Business Growth on Purpose.